I videotaped a lesson today. The lesson was an IB physics class. We're working out of topic 7.3. The unit is nuclear physics, and this 7.3 section is about the Standard Model and particle interactions, particle physics. It's actually the second time I tried to film it. I tried to film it last class, and within half of the video we were already playing a Kahoot and reflecting on that. Nobody wants to sit and watch me run a Kahoot in class. And so I've been thinking a lot after that original attempt and watching it. I've been thinking a lot about how to capture myself in front of the classroom, and there's great irony in this. I'm having a hard time filming myself actually teaching. And when I think about what somebody wants to see when they watch a teacher teach, and my perception is that it is somebody standing up in front of the room and negotiating the classroom environment that is a classroom. And that style of teaching that I'm picturing is very different than the actual teaching that I do. Let me try and explain. You will not catch me in front of the whiteboard up here talking about the topic. What I end up doing as a default is selecting appropriate material that allows the class to interact, and I facilitate those interactions. And so we'll use resources where the students are answering questions, or they're learning from the resources, or they're looking at images from the resources, and my role is to help them understand how the resources relate to the curricular objectives and how they can best use those resources as a learning experience. And so, like I said, I've been thinking about the lessons that I've been teaching here over the last week in the context of trying to capture something on video. It really is just me interacting with materials with the kids and not standing in front of the classroom. That's really been a big change to my teaching over the last long time. Really moving away from a teacher-centered environment, becoming a facilitator of learning in my classroom. And I hope that this lesson shows that. When I reflected on the first lesson, I was already seeing things that needed improvement right away. And so I was open and honest about those things with the students in the taping of the second lesson. I didn't do a good enough job involving everybody the first time, and I tried to improve on that the second time. In the lesson, it's a 90-minute block, and so we're interacting with a large number of resources during that time. Usually it's 10 minutes resource, new resource, 10 minutes, new resource. And so we were looking at, we were using the textbook, we were using past IB problems, we were looking at a resource I really like called Grade Gorilla, and snippets of those contributing to the overall hour-and-a-half lesson. Then reflecting how well it went. I have learning targets pretty well communicated on my website, but I don't feel like I did a good enough job clearly stating those at the beginning of class. That's something I've really improved upon, and it was unfortunate to see that I didn't do that for this class. Can always do better there. I was better at engaging some of the less talkative students in the class. It's very easy to let those kids that want to keep asking questions dominate the space, and if you're not really paying attention, that just becomes the natural outcome. And so I was working more on this lesson to include some of the more quiet students. Overall, the lesson went pretty well. Unfortunately, the auto time for the video for the DSLR I'm using is 25 or 30 minutes, and so only the first portion of the lesson is captured. I had it back on towards the end, and I'm not sure what amount I'll post overall as the whole lesson, but I was able to, at the end, wrap up and consider, with respect to the IB bullet points from the actual guide, what we had covered, and was able to check for an understanding for my students. When you interact with the students in a way where you're coaching them through the content, you have a pretty good understanding the whole time about where students' understanding is, and so that's an advantage to teaching the way that I teach. I got to stop talking. Check out the lesson. I hope that you notice the way that I interact and engage with the students and how my environment is student-centered and not teacher-centered.